You want to know who's going to win this weekend? You want to know who to place a bet on? You want to know who you should go to betonline.net and place that bet with? Well, Jimmy and I are going to tell you. And we're not really sure about these picks, but why not use them?
Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Jimmy, how are you today?
Good. In the mood to make some picks. I want to feel like those dudes on a couple of ESPN segments. You know, they go to those Vegas sharks to tell us who to bet our money on.
I mean, these shows are so dumb. I've got a betting story I can tell you later, but regardless, I do want to talk about predictions. I'll go ahead and tell you the story right now. I'm not supposed to do that. I'm supposed to get into some other stuff, but I'll never forget when I was younger, like 20 years ago, I called one of those hotlines, and it was like, $20 will give you the pick of the year. It was Texas playing at Notre Dame when Notre Dame was good. Texas was quarterbacked by James Brown at the time, if you remember. Not that James Brown, a different James Brown. And Texas was like a 14-point underdog, and they said, Texas is going to win this game straight up. And Notre Dame just bludgeoned them to death. I mean, it was like clubbing a baby seal with a hippopotamus leg. I mean, it was just unbelievable clubbing. And I called the number back. I was like, what the heck? I mean, I just hit zero enough times or whatever. And the guy was like, what do you want from me? I just made a pick. I want my $20 back. I've already lost 200 on this game. He's like, I'm not giving you your money back. And he hung up on me. So
I always think that those shows, they say stuff like in their ads, they're like, last week we hit at a 90% rate. And my first thought, maybe I'm just too much of a lawyer. My first thought is always bull, did not. And if you could pick, if I had the ability to be right 90% of the time, you know who I would share that with? Nobody. Because I'm going to the casino myself and I'm making my bets and I'm making all this money. I'm not sharing it. Who am I? Santa Claus? If I was going to be right all the time, I would just go to the casino and be right all the time. I wouldn't tell you guys. Me and Luke are about to be very wrong with our picks. If these were all going to be right, we wouldn't be telling you guys. We wouldn't be locked on Bama. We'd be locked on vacationing in Aspen. Yeah, we'd be locked on Aspen.
All right, let's talk about some of these picks. Of course, we'll save Alabama, Texas for last. South Carolina, Arkansas. Oh yeah, I kind of like getting into SEC play. What are you thinking, Spencer Rattler and the crew traveling to Arkansas? Do you give the Gamecocks any chance?
I do. I'm taking those points, 8.5 on a sheet I saw today. Not sure what BetOnline's got it at. I like South Carolina to cover a number. I'm not sure I like them to outright win the game. I think it's going to be tight. Two reasons. Arkansas's kind of come out of the clouds a little bit. We bet against a team that is just had a big win. And South Carolina didn't play great last week. So big improvement from week 1 to week 2. Again, I think it's going to be tight. I like Arkansas to win. I like South Carolina to cover.
Of course, I was muted.
Okay.
Dang it. You were about to check all your settings.
Oh, I was looking at my little Wi-Fi there.
Wake Forest at Vanderbilt. Vandy is 13-point underdog at home. Look, call me nutty, call me crazy, call me a lot of things. Call me a Commodore fool. I think Vandy wins outright.
Vandy wins outright. I love the confidence. I would take Vanderbilt because of the points. I do believe they'll cover. I believe it'll be really tight. I can see them winning the game. Hey, who would have thought before Sam Hartman's issues that Vandy might be putting the best quarterback on the field? Mike Wright has had 2 outstanding weeks in a row for Vanderbilt to quarterback. I think under Mike Wright, they make this at least close, and it'll be an exciting, fun game. I won't be shocked if they win it outright, but I do like them to cover the number.
Here's one of the more unheralded traditional rivalries in the whole sport of football. I mean, just unbelievable drama. San Jose State at Auburn. Can't really say enough good things about this game. Auburn's only a 23-point favorite, which seems like free money to me. I think Auburn's going to beat these guys into oblivion. They're flying over here from California. They barely beat whatever trade school they beat last Saturday. And seriously, they're just not good. And I think Auburn's going to make a point because they didn't cover against Mercer to try and make some of the boosters happy this way.
I like Auburn big in this game. Again, I'm not sold that Auburn is a good team. I look for Robbie Ashford to get more snaps. He's an interesting story, I think, at Auburn right now. Bigsby will have a big game. I think Auburn just sort of runs away and hides here, but it's not a statement about how I feel about how good or bad Auburn's team is this year. They're just going to out-athlete San Jose State, and that's that.
I want to go ahead now and stop and tell everybody about BetOnline. Look, if you want to bet on any of these games, go to betonline.net. It's your number one source for all It's your number one source for all your pro and college football betting needs and sports info this season. Find all the latest football league developments, game matchups, news, and podcasts, including this year's opening week games. It's actually second week now, or third week if you want to count week 0, whatever the heck that is. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MLB, boxing, golf, MMA, whatever you want. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and actions. BetOnline is where the game starts. All right. We're not going to talk about Southern LSU, even though, I mean, LSU had such heartbreak, and it seems like all their players are scrubbing any mention of LSU from their own social media pages. But LSU's going to win that game. There's not even a line on it. That's how bad that is. And LSU's apparently not very good. That's how bad Southern is. You want to talk? All right, Georgia Samford. I mean, that is an 18-wheeler versus a baby kitten. That is just not going to work out very well. Texas A&M, Appalachian State, again, don't want to spend a ton of time on them.
Appalachian State pushed North Carolina, as we saw. Some people are saying this game will be tight because I don't agree. I think Texas A&M wins by 3 touchdowns.
And I think Texas A&M's underwhelming performance week 1 and Appalachian State maybe playing a bit above their head works to the detriment of Appalachian State this time because they got to come down off this cloud. I mean, the stadium only seats like 30,000 people at Appalachian State. They brought in all these bleachers so they could have 40,000, and then they lose in heartbreaking fashion. They've got to be coming down off a high, and A&M looked pretty mundane last Saturday, and they're going to want to make a statement. So I think Texas A&M wins big. Missouri at Kansas State, an old Big 12 rivalry rekindled. That's it.
Thinking. Okay, this is what I'm going to say. I have no confidence in this pick whatsoever because I'm just not high on Missouri as a team this year. Missouri surprised me a little bit with their performance against Louisiana Tech. I'll say this. Kansas State wins the game, but Missouri covers the number. I'll go with that.
Yeah, which is 8. Yeah, which is 8.
Yeah, I think it's a field goal for Kansas State that wins the game. Missouri may be a little better than I thought. But I don't believe Missouri is so good and win this game. I don't believe so.
I hear you. Mississippi State at Arizona. Arizona State had the college football equivalent of a butt fumble when they blocked their own punt this past week. I don't know if you saw that. That was, again, it's one of those things that's kind of tough to do, but Arizona, with a little bit of effort, was able to pull it off. Mississippi State is a 1-point favorite, apparently. And I feel like it should be, or maybe it's a 10-point favorite. The thing is cut off. Regardless, I think Mississippi State should win this game. If they don't, Mike Leach may just want to stay out there and go to Sedona or something.
Mississippi State is this is how I feel about them. I don't think they're going to win 10 games. I really don't. But I think they're really good. I think they're going to end up being almost the poster child for how ridiculously tough the SEC West is. I think Mississippi State goes to Arizona and routs them, and it'll be an impressive performance because, put it this way, Mississippi State might be one of the top 15 or 16 teams in the entire country and the 6th best team in the SEC West.
Yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, one I missed was Central Arkansas at Ole Miss. I'm not even discussing that.
Yeah.
Here are two fun ones. These are fun. The Johnny Majors Bowl, Tennessee at Pittsburgh.
Love it.
Look, what's funny is Pittsburgh's ranked 17th. They're at home. Tennessee just broke into the top 25 at number 24, and Tennessee's a 6.5-point favorite, and I don't think it's enough. I think Tennessee might boat race them.
I like Tennessee to win this game. This is a statement game for Tennessee. Not a statement of we're back, make room in the playoff, but a statement that says something like we are a legitimate top 25 football team, and we will beat you unless you are really freaking good. And I don't think Pitt is really freaking good. I think Pitt's fine. I think Pitt is somewhat of a contender in the ACC and a pretty good team. But Tennessee is just Tennessee's just a better football team than Pitt. It took 1 year just in the past. Now Pittsburgh would beat them last year. Last year Pittsburgh better than Tennessee. This year Tennessee better than Pittsburgh. Credit to Tennessee for being an ascending program.
Yeah, well, Pittsburgh had two first-round picks, and Kenny Pickett and Addison, who's now not a first-round pick yet, but he's at USC and would have been a first-round pick. Kentucky at Florida. Again, call me crazy, call me nutty. I think the Big Blue pulls it out right there in Gainesville, really? I swear. I really do. I think they win it. Florida's only a 4.5-point favorite, so it's not this monster upset. But I think Kentucky wins the game outright.
Almost feel like this is the game of the week because – gosh, when I say this, I'm going to screw it up for everybody in the world, but I see this as being like the best game this weekend. And by best game, I mean, buckle up, get ready for a wacky ending. This one's coming down to the last 30 seconds and could go either way. I think it's going to be a coin flip at the end, but I do like Florida to win the game. And gosh, this is hard for me to word because I sort of like Will Levis as an NFL prospect. As a college quarterback that where the number one stat we're concerned with is winning the football game, I like Anthony Richardson more than Levis. I think Anthony Richardson wins this game before Will Levis does. Though if I'm drafting an NFL team, I might take Levis first over Richardson. But I like Richardson this weekend over Levis.
Very, very fair. All right, when we come back, we're going to down Alabama, Texas, and give our predictions. Alabama, Texas this weekend, Jimmy, you and I will both be there. I hope I get to see you. I hope I'm wearing my sunglasses and a hat because it's going to be 172 degrees. That's heat index plus or minus 80 degrees. But Alabama and Texas come into this undefeated, 1-0 each. If you had told me that BetOnline would offer a wager of, who's going to have more rushing yards coming into this game, Bryce Young or Bijan Robinson, I would have lost everything. Bryce Young has 29 more yards rushing this year than Bijan Robinson does.
That's unlikely to continue Saturday.
No, it's not likely to continue. I'm going to tell you, Jimmy, the more I think about this game, the more I think it really is a mismatch. I think Alabama is just a lot better. I think Alabama's going to play even sharper than they played this past weekend, and they won 55-0 over the defending Mountain West champs. I think did you just hit your own horn?
Don't I always? Don't I always when I get something right?
I'm muted all the time. You're making extra noises.
That was total accident. That was the doing the podcast in the car equivalent of dropping my phone in the garbage can.
That was. People who are listening on the audio side are just like, what was that? He literally just his hand slipped and he honked his own horn. I can't believe it. Anyway, I think Alabama takes care of business here. I don't think there's any doubt. Texas may score on their first drive, their first two drives even. I think Sark's going to have a nice game plan. He's going to figure out something. He's going to come up with whatever Alabama's weaknesses are. But I think Alabama in the end just has too many horses. And I also think Texas plays more into Alabama's hands than Utah State did. I kept saying all summer long I thought Utah State would be a tougher out than Texas. I don't necessarily think Alabama's going to beat Texas 55-0, but I do. My score will be 48-14.
48-14. Wow. I mean, I just have it slightly closer, not really too different. I have it 42-21. I'm like you, Luke. I can see two things in terms of where's Texas getting these 21 points. An early flurry, an S storm, as Nick Saban sometimes refers to it, to the football team. I can see Texas coming out with a ton of emotion, very emotional stadium, very fired up, very passionate stadium, great script by Sark, who's going to know our personnel and our team well. He's an excellent play caller. He's got good players. I can see Texas getting 2 scores really quickly. I can also see at the end of a game in which Alabama has thoroughly blown Texas out, that Texas might get a couple scores with young players on the field at the end on both sides when the game's already decided and Alabama's warming up the bus. So 42-21 almost makes it sound like it could be close at times or competitive. If it is, I think it would just be very early until Alabama survives the storm and reasserts dominance. I think Alabama's a lot better team here. The only thing that gives me trepidation, Luke, in terms of like the reason I'm not sprinting to betonline.ag and making my bet with a lot of money is this is what makes me nervous. Alabama didn't play great on the road a year ago. The first time Alabama hit the road last year, they almost coulda, woulda, shoulda lost to Florida, who ended up firing the coach. They were so bad last year. So I'm not going to be super confident because I want to see Alabama play well on the road in a road game before I get super confident about the pick. But 42-21 is how I see it in terms of how much better I think Alabama is than Texas. I think the spread is around 20, and the BetOnline spread I think is 20.5, and I like Alabama to win right at that number.
I can certainly see that. Here's the one thing that also lends me to think that it's going to be a blowout is if Alabama can blow them out, they will, simply because we do go into Texas and recruit. They are going to be in the SEC. It behooves us to go over there and beat them into oblivion if it can be done. Whereas, okay, yeah, we beat up on Utah State. You can say, well, what'd you do to Utah State? You blew them out. We didn't score in the fourth quarter. We didn't even try. We were just sort of meandering about. I feel like if we can beat Texas a little bit worse, we will. Now, having said that, I also know Nick Saban's history. I know that when he is blowing somebody out, see Auburn 2012, we're up 42-0 at the half. We only win 49-0 after we score in the first drive coming out of halftime because we just don't really try to score anymore. We just sort of say, we don't need to. We don't need to embarrass them. Me personally, if I was coaching Alabama, it would have been 80-0 because I would have made sure I want to just put their nose right in the grindstone. But Nick Saban's a better coach than I am. And he also, Steve Sarkisian being a former disciple of his, and they have a pretty good relationship. I feel like that would be something that, he probably wouldn't want to do. So that I think 48-14 is enough of a statement. But, if he can beat them a little worse, I kind of hope he does. I think that would be a nice little reality check. Having said all that, I hope these comments don't come back to haunt me personally. If Texas were to beat us, but I don't see that happening. It's hard to see a path to Texas beating Alabama based on, unless Quinn Ewers has a Steven Garcia, Zach Calzada moment, which again, it happened before.
I don't like that. Well, I think Quinn Ewers is a legitimate. It's going to be a legitimately really talented, good quarterback, whereas Garcia and Calzada just kind of had one game magical performances. I think Ewers is good. At some point, Ewers is going to get a big win because he's a good player. I just think this is too early in his career for it, and I think Will Anderson, Dallas Turner, and Chris Braswell are going to have big days against a really young Texas offensive line. So I don't see it happening this weekend, but I do think Ewers is going to be a good enough player to the point that when Arch Manning arrives in Austin next year, it's going to be a thing. Is it going to be Ewers or Manning? I think Ewers will be good enough to where it's just not automatically Arch's job.
All right, buddy. I will see you out in Austin, Texas. Until then, everybody, we'll be back with another episode, but next week, as soon as this game's over. But until then, roll tide.